that it was for speedboat races. So the boats would be down there and just tear down here, 200 miles an hour.
Well, it's funny because the history I know about the Miami Marine Stadium is kind of reverse of the way history actually played out. Like, I know of it as like a graffiti mecca in Miami. Like, I know of it as a place that local people in Miami come to paint all the time. It's kind of like a local sketchbook place where people can really go off and be creative. Only after that did I really find out the greater history of musical events and performances here that have happened for years, from Sammy Davis Jr. and Richard Nixon to Gloria Estefan, and all kinds of amazing bands and rock stars played here, which is crazy. And now it's abandoned, so it had this like beautiful life, and then it went through a rebirth, and now it has a whole new one through graffiti and street culture.
One of the inspirations for using the Miami Marine Stadium as a canvas for street artists to raise funds was other things that had come previously, like 5 Points in New York, the Venice Wall out in California. There are a number of places where artists can go and they can paint without fear of being arrested. And we felt that we should also kind of follow in those footsteps, because the Venice Wall and 5 Points, they're no longer what they used to be. And so we wanted to make sure that this time was sort of immortalized through photos and the shows that we were doing and everything else.
A lot of us started out painting in environments like this, and have had big, long careers where we've traveled the world and done all kinds of cool stuff. And it's fun to paint somewhere that reminds you of your youth and how you started,
Like a 12-year-old kid that's painting here for the first time, we're all artists, and how do you learn art? And especially, how do you learn street art and graffiti? You learn it by doing it, so you've got to find a place to do it, and hopefully a safe place where you can really hone your skills without getting arrested or pissing, a bunch of people off.
What typically happens with projects or things like this, where there's like a graffiti mecca and then it gets renovated, is that it then becomes less accessible to people who aren't famous yet or aren't professionals yet. And that's what's so good about this place, is that any kid can come in here, and future Jose Parlas or future Ron Englishes, before they're really good, can come here and play around and experiment.
I see that happening everywhere. People can bring a bunch of painters in, and then all the press follows and all the attention follows. And a lot of the effort, I think, of saving a place like this, that would be a huge, tragedy to lose, is getting people to think about it again, not letting it drift into the background. And in a weird way, all these little wayward kids with their skateboards and their spray paint have kept this a vital place. They've reclaimed it as their park. And I think it's just as exciting watching the kids paint and skateboard as it would have been years ago to come see the Rolling Stones.
Already, it's the artists in the first place that come down here and still make use of this structure. And by doing what we're doing in this project, we are getting a little bit more focus on the place. I hope so, because everyone can appreciate the structure and the location. I mean, who doesn't want to sit and look at dolphins all day? I mean, that's my Sunday right there,
The graffiti element of this stadium is now a part of its history, and you can't take that away from it. So graffiti is as part of the culture here as is any famous band that played here. This place has been host of more graffiti artists than rock stars. So going forward, they can't really take that out of it without making for a lot of disgruntled creative youth.
I think although as a group of artists, the art is primarily visual, It is, as my good friend Logan here suggested, a kind of a form of entertainment. What I've noticed the last couple of days here is that a lot of people walking around, a lot of people taking photos, a lot of people just interested, and I think as artists it is important that we're seen as entertainers as well.
If it happens and the stadium gets renovated, obviously every piece of art will get destroyed. But the way I look at street art is kind of like if we were coming here to do a free concert. To me, this is like I'm giving a free concert, and it brings attention to the space. So, you know, I think it would be wonderful if once it's reestablished that they brought some of these people back and let them do like massive pieces that would stay maybe for a year. And if they also let the artists think about, you know, and absorb the architecture, which is stunning, and then kind of play with it. And if the original architect could realize that art saved his building, and that it'll be great if people really kind of involve the building in the art, you know?
What I would like to see is that some of the original artwork or the original infrastructure was preserved. The real infrastructure of the building where it's been painted on, which has been like this since Hurricane Andrew, somehow gets celebrated by just keeping it as is. Sometimes you don't have to redo anything, you know? Sometimes it's better just leave it as it is. You know, imagine when I'm an old geezer and I come in here with my grandkids and be like, wow, this place is immaculate. But that wall, that was Logan Hicks right there back in the days. That guy was a G, or like, you know, and that's the actual wall, like, you know, that has radiance, that has potency to it.
In order to give a nod to the people that kind of kept us into the lexicon of the public perception, we felt that it was important to bring street artists in and allow them to legally paint, to give them a chance to actually come in and do what they normally do without any worries of being arrested or breaking and entering or whatever else.
All people, I mean, art aside, you know, you have different ways you grow up, different things you've been conditioned, and different ways you live your life. So when people come and express themselves artistically, that's education for us. That's the best education. Like, I'm learning from people from different walks of life. They've been more exposed to art, trains, gallery scenes, things like that. But over here, it's like we're all playing free. It's like kids playing free.
Street art's more like a movie, you know? You don't want the same movie to be in the theater every time you go to the theater, otherwise you'd never go to the theater, right? I guess if the theater looked like this, you'd probably go to the theater all the freaking time, but most of them are like a little box in a mall, so better have a new movie if you want us to come back.